In this video, I'm going to go over if you should main the Nemesis. This is a new series I'm going to be starting where I'm going to go through every killers in order of Nemesis all the way back to Trapper, and just go over if you should main them. I'm going to rank them in 5 categories. The first is Strength, the second is Skill Ceiling, the third is Fun, the fourth is Perk Synergy, and the fifth is Map Reliance. Originally there was supposed to be Nemesis gameplay in the background, but as of now he's completely unplayable on console, so please settle for some random clips. So first let's just go for Nemesis power. Nemesis power. Let's go over his power. It's split into 2 parts. The first part are zombies. 2 zombies will spawn every game and will patrol around and look for survivors. Well, they won't actively look for survivors, but if they wander near a survivor, they will raise their arms and begin pursuing them. The only way to stop a zombie pursuing a survivor is if the survivor blocks line of sight for enough time, stuns them with a pallet or a flashlight, or you yourself just kill the zombie. If hit by a zombie, a survivor will become contaminated with the T-virus, and if a contaminated survivor is hit by a zombie, they will lose a health state. Zombies are actually a pretty decent tracking tool because if you do see the zombies' auras with their arms raised, you know the direction the survivor's moving and you know that there's even a survivor there. The second part of his ability is called Tentacle Strike. When you press the power button, you will pull out your wee tentacle, which sounds weird, but you will pull it out. This takes about a third of a second, and then it allows you to whip survivors in front of you. If you hit a survivor, this will contaminate them and give them a speed boost, and if you hit a contaminated survivor, they will lose a health state. This does not proc effects such as Save the Best for Last, exposed perks, and Sloppy Butcher, and other things like that. Contaminating a survivor gives you a significant portion of your mutation rate, and hitting a contaminated survivor or killing a zombie with your tentacle will also increase your mutation rate. At mutation rate tier 1, this is just your base power, your tentacle strike. It does not break pallets, and it has a 5-meter range. After you reach tier 2, which the survivors will get an audio cue, and everyone will know once you've reached tier 2, you will be able to break pallets with your power, which has the same cooldown as a successful attack or a missed attack, which is 2.5 seconds. At mutation rate tier 3, this doesn't do much, it just increases the range of your tentacle strike by 1 meter, so now it's 6 meters. So how strong is the Nemesis? Well, unfortunately for Nemesis, he isn't very strong at the minute. He came out at probably the worst time possible. This is because at the minute, survivors have realised the strength of holding W, as people call it. Holding W is essentially just running forward without stopping, running in straight lines, and wasting a ton of the killer's time that way. Nemesis is currently one of the most susceptible killers to this strategy. Not just does he have no extra mobility, he doesn't have a ranged attack like Deathslinger Hunters where he can hit you 15-20 meters away, and he gives you 3 speed boosts, which is insane. You can waste over a minute of Nemesis time just from running a bit early, getting your 3 speed boosts, or 2 speed boosts since the third one downs you, and then just keep going. It is really, really bad form. And if you get a team that does this, the gens will fly, your chases will be at least 50 seconds to over a minute each, simply because the survivor runs, you will get no pallets, and you will just have such a terrible time. Not just that, the zombies are incredibly inconsistent. Some games they will get you literally 0 value, some games they will get you decent value. Sometimes the AI is just buggy as shit. They will just walk into a wall and then keep walking. They get stuck in hills and stuff like that. So Nemesis, in my opinion, is a pretty damn weak killer. Now, he's not terrible. His tentacle strike does help at loops. If you get the person contaminated, or if they're already contaminated, it actually is pretty potent, especially at some low-lying loops like these Macmillan box loops and all that. Now let's look at Nemesis' skill ceiling. Once again, it's not looking too good for him. He's not a very hard killer to play. The only sort of thing you have to master is the tentacle strike, but since its nature is it only has 5 or 6 meters range, there's not really anything crazy you can do with it. You can either hit over the object or you can't hit over the object. It's just a matter of, actually hitting the survivor, which really isn't that hard. The hitbox isn't that small, and it's also quite forgiving because it's got a lingering hitbox, meaning if the survivors juke back into it, they'll still get hit. So there's really not much to learn with the Nemesis. After a few hours in him, you'll get the hang of it, and you really won't see much of an improvement from there. Now let's look how fun Nemesis is. Personally, this is all subjective, but I don't really find him that fun. The whole tentacle strike thing, like I said, you either can use it or you can't. There's not much crazy things you can do with it. His zombies are complete RNG and can sometimes be frustrating. And his add-ons really don't change his gameplay up that much. There's not really any add-ons you can use that are super fun. So Nemesis really isn't, there isn't much fun to be had when playing him. You'll find it a bit of a snooze fest. You can either hit the survivor, and if you can't hit the survivor, you can hit them with a tentacle. It's just one or the other, one or the other. And really, there isn't much to it. His gameplay just gets really stale after a while, which isn't good if you want to main a killer. You sort of play every loop the exact same way. You play every game the exact same way. There really isn't much to like about him in terms of fun. Now let's look at perk synergies. So, since he has the Tentacle Strike, which isn't a basic attack, immediately a lot of perks aren't going to work well on him, particularly stuff like Haunted Grounds, Devour Hope, Sloppy Butcher, Surge, stuff like that, which procs on a basic attack. However, for perks that actually do work specifically well on Nemesis, Saves the Best for Last works pretty well because you can save stacks quite easily on your obsession. It also helps with the hold and W because they get less distance after you hit them with a reduced cooldown. And also Hex Ruin is actually better on him than some other killers because occasionally a zombie just can wander up to his survivor on a gen and then push them off for a while because they have to deal with it. And then Ruin will eat that gen while they're trying to get rid of the zombie. And lastly, we have map reliance. So, personally, I don't think Nemesis is very map reliant. This is a positive thing. You can usually get any sort of map, and you usually shouldn't affect your gameplay that much. Indoor maps can help zombies, stuff like Larry's and Hawkins, because they can pop out of nowhere for survivors, and they can also body block corridors and stuff, forcing the survivors to get hit. He doesn't like large maps as that can hurt his zombies. The bigger the map, the less the survivors are going to come in contact with them, and that's bad. Also, the holding W on a large map is also much easier, but not really any killer likes big maps. So overall, I would say that he isn't very map reliant at all. So overall, do I recommend that you main Nemesis? At the current moment, I think you shouldn't. I don't think he's rewarding enough to play. I think it's quite easy to get good with him. I think even when you get good with him, you will still lose quite a lot of games. He's not particularly fun, in my opinion, so there's just not really much to like about him. I would put him in the low mid tier in terms of where you would want to, if you would want to main him or not. Definitely on the lower end of killers. So that's it for this one. Hopefully, you agree with my assessment of him. The next colour I'll be doing is Trickster, and then Twins, and then so on. I can't wait for that. I have high hopes for this series. I hope it does well because I enjoy doing these types of videos. And if you enjoy it too, make sure to like the video. Leave a comment as well. It definitely helps get the video out there when you interact with it. So that's all for this one. Thanks for watching.